Mark hasn't said anything to me to that effect, but.
Well, the conversation me and you had, I hadn't talked with Mark, the conversation that you and I had.
Well, let me comment on a couple things. The way the raises were done, and Commissioner, first of all, I want to let you know, I share your passion, and people that know me understand that. I work on this 24/7. And I can tell you there was nothing arbitrary about those increases that were given last October. There was nothing arbitrary. We did, for the first time, I believe, in that hospital's history, a detailed wage analysis on every person, looking at all of their experience, whether it was with us or wasn't with us, and we compared it to what other small hospitals in this panhandle pay.
That's where I just,
Can't
that's
do
what
that.
me and you had our
Can't
discussion
do
about.
that.
I've been with the city 20 years. I haven't had a raise in 12 years. This year be 12 years. The roundness of counties that pays, my job pays $22,000 more than I make a year. And they can't afford to pay me that raise. I'm worth that raise, but they can't pay that to me.
Commissioner, I understand what you're saying.
I
However,
want to build a hospital and a clinic, get what we got, but we got to try to save this money.
it doesn't do any good to build a hospital if I can't pay the staff to be there. And I'm telling you that when we did the analysis, we were underpaying the staff as a whole probably about, I think it was $550,000. $550,000 on a $3.6 million budget. That's how far underpaid they were. And I know you have a love and this is your home, you're not going anywhere, but I'm afraid, as much as some of our nurses like it here, they can and they will leave.
But I hadn't seen no big raise on them nurses. I seen it on the up above staff.
There was only 2 raises that were over $10,000 that I'm aware of. Like I said, I haven't looked at it since October.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
You sure can.
I share the anxiety and the frustration as we work through this decision-making process. We have had, a lot of this predates my position on the commission, but we've been planning this hospital for 6 or 8 years. We've had, I think, Mike, Mr. Cooper is the 5th CEO of the hospital that we've had. He was hired to bring this plane in for a landing. We've got a lot of balls in the air, and I am as frustrated as everybody is about this. We are attempting to do an affiliation with TMH. We see the handwriting on the wall. We see that small rural hospitals are in a precarious situation. It's taken us years to get the approval from Department of Agriculture, Department of Health for the approval. We have moved forward with construction manager at risk. We are close to having all the facts before us. We requested a meeting with the hospital board, a workshop. Overlaying all of that is the precarious financial situation of the hospital. Through no fault of the administration, no fault of ours, when most of our funding comes from government payments and the government's slow, it puts us in a terrible situation. So I think we are getting close to making some sort of decision, either pause or move forward. I look forward to that discussion and reaching a decision.
How many raises did you say?
I thought there was only 2 that were over 10.
2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
Over 10?
Over 10.
I apologize. Like I said, I haven't looked at it since October.
Oh, that one, yeah, he's not over 10.
I do want to make another comment that I've mentioned several times, that there is a misconception regarding hospital finances. And if it were possible, I mean, we're licensed for 25 beds. If it were possible, I would love to have 25 people in those beds. But commissioners, it doesn't matter if there are 25 there or if there's 0 there. It doesn't affect the viability of that hospital. That's immaterial unless all of those patients are commercial patients, which they're not going to be. That does not matter. It doesn't factor into what that hospital gets paid. So when you say there's 1.6 patients out there, it doesn't, yeah, would I love to have more? I'd love to have about 10 or 12 swing bed patients because we really get paid good for those. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's all gets worked out on the cost report. Trying to explain this is difficult. I've been doing it for 30-some years, and I understand about enough to be dangerous, to be honest with you. But we just got notice last week our Medicare outpatient rate went from $550 to $625. That's an unheard of increase, but it's because of all these things that happened last year. We'll have the benefit of that going forward in the upcoming years. It's a nasty business. If you had $25 million as a private citizen, I would say put it in a coffee can and bury it in your backyard. Don't invest in a hospital. It's just not healthy for an investor. But it's the business that we're in. It's a business I chose in 1985, and it's a business you're all in.
Yes, sir.
You said one thing, you need to go back and retract. Or you said Avalon, don't mention no Avalon in here. About the hospital, because we not going to be
No, that's what I
Avalon.
said. That's what I was saying. What the deal with TMH would do is protect you guys from if the hospital failed. I mean, if it just completely failed, you wouldn't be at risk for any ad valorem money.
Don't
That would be on
bring up
TMH.
Avalon. We done protected ourselves on that. We don't need you. That's dangerous. We not gonna put the people's property taxes up. We got a healthcare tax, and we watching that close.
I agree.
And y'all, you're doing some dangerous stuff out there. And it's like I told you before, that's your house, you supposed to run it. And you not running it like it's supposed to be run. I mean, you don't get, when you in the business, and then you got a lot of people out there who got business. When they're in the hole, they don't get raised. They cut back. That's what I would do. I done ran a business. I ain't never gave nobody no raise when I was in the hole. If they didn't like it, I tell them to go find something to come back when I do better.
Well, Commissioner, you know,
Just don't do it.
It was my decision, and I'll stand behind it. I know how the raises were come by, and in my opinion, and like I just said, you know, I'm not perfect, and if I can be right half the time or more, I'm happy. But to me, the risk was greater to lose staff, and which we do. We run at about 15% turnover rate, which is not healthy. And the reason we run at that is because of wages and benefits. That's the two reasons.
Well, I've been here 12 to 18, I've been here 12. I seen 1, 2, 3, about 5 CEOs, 4 or 5, before you. And now one of them done. You the only one.
Do I?
I seen 5 CEOs before you, and you the first who did this. Go back, I'm bringing them up to par. None of the rest of them have none. I mean, that from back there when Mike Lake up to you. You the first.
Right.
You tough, man. But I tell you what.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Bad what?
can, just let me do a follow-up, and then I'm gonna be ready to move on. Mr. Cooper, in this article that I quoted, and I have it if you want to see it.
If
because
you can give me the
it's
site, I'll look it up.
It's from Governing. It's a magazine that we get for being county commissioners. That's why we're set up here so smart, because we read that stuff. But, and take it to heart and research it. But, no, we're not smart. We got problems. But anyway, the one thing that they cited, and it's something that myself and Alan has continuously said, is the lack of being able to get qualified providers. And I'm looking on your report where, again, let me read it. Let me see what it says right here. It says that you are very disappointed with the clinic's performance, and that you have met with Dr. Stoll, and you'll be meeting with her on a bi-weekly status because apparently you're not satisfied. You know, I asked you a couple of months back when she first came, gave her about a month there, and I asked you how was she performing. We're giving her a little bit of benefit of the doubt, you know, and all this. Well, has it gotten better?
There are multiple problems. Let me say that. There's multiple problems, and I did address that last Wednesday. Without getting into, I don't want to get into patient issues.
Because I had an issue, that's what I'm saying, and just everybody laughed about it, but it could have killed me.
There is a learning curve, I guess, on both sides. Some of the things that this community was used to in the delivery of medicine is not the appropriate way to have medicine delivered. And when I say medicine, I'm talking the treatment, not actually drugs. And frankly, I was spoiled as well, and I know better. I was spoiled in that, you know, I used to just walk in and say, hey, my drugs I need refills, and they just say, okay, we put them in, and that's not the way it's supposed to happen. And I can tell you Dr. Stoll is much more data-driven. She gets daily updates from the CDC, and that's what she looks at, and that's how she practices medicine, which is a lot different than the way things have been done in the past. Am I totally happy with Dr. Stoll? No. And she'll be the first to let you know that I've let her know of my displeasure. But I would not put this all on Dr. Stoll, and just know that I've got my eye on it. I mean, I watch it every day. I get the reports from patients, and I get the reports from staff, and I get the reports from the computer. I know what the issues are, and I know why they're there. Correcting them is a whole bigger issue.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, we just saying hospital, but it's more to that than just hospital. Let's get the whole thing out since we're talking. What you control? You control the money we got, the money you talking about. That control just the hospital, or don't that control the clinics too?
Clinics and ambulance. It's
So-
all of it.
We just can't say hospital.
No, you can't. When I say hospital, I'm talking about everything, ambulances and the clinics. If you were to split this out, if you were to split it out into three entities, ambulance, hospital, and clinics, and we ran it one, the hospital would be the only one making money. It would have a black bottom line. The other two would have a red bottom line, and the losses would be greater if you ran them separately but because we run them as one operation, the benefit of our hospital cost report allows us to make the losses less by doing it that way. But the only entity in and of itself, if you were to run them separately, the only entity that actually makes money is the hospital.
Another question. Now, we got 2 clinics,
Mm-hmm.
and you saying they not making money.
No, they're losing money.
The Amalan losing money.
Well, the ambulance, it was running pretty close to break even until we added that 3rd truck full time. Now, the additional expenses on that 3rd truck took it into the negative. Talk about wanting to see if, an income statement. I think if you'll look at the end of this fiscal year, it will be in the red, some amount of money. And going forward, it'll just get redder until we get the increased subsidy to run it at 3 full-time ambulances.
Okay. I'll go further than next time.
Okay. I know Mr. Backrack wants to talk to you about the dates for a workshop.
That was going to be my next thing. We need to set up, I was unable to set up the meeting before this meeting as the board had requested, so we need to, if we could get a date, time certain, or at least we can narrow it down, and then I can contact everybody when they check their schedules.
I've got a pretty good bit of meetings next week, some out of town, some over, way over to Pensacola, when I'm down south. I'm not gonna be able to meet at all next week.
We got what budget workshops we got to figure out too, Mike.
Yes, sir, we are.
Intertwined in there too.
I'll tell you right. September, I think it's the 6th, that afternoon, and then September 19th, that's a Monday, that afternoon, both at 5:15.
That's the workshops with the budget.
That's the actual budget hearings, that's your public
Yeah.
hearings, yes, sir.
We could either, we could probably do it before then if nobody's got anything. How about
You
you?
got to be here before.
What
The
about
budget
the
workshop
last-
start at 5:15?
The budget?
Starts
Yes,
at
sir.
5:15?
Yes, sir,
In the
5:15.
evening? And what was the dates on those?
They are the 6th, which is the morning of, that morning you have your first of the month meeting, regular meeting, and then that afternoon you have the 5:15 budget public hearings at 5, I say that at 5:15. So that's the 6th, that's the first Tuesday of the month.
I'd say 2 o'clock.
On that same day?
Yeah, I mean, we go to lunch and we come back from 2 to whatever, meet with the hospital, and then after that, we got the budget hearing.
Jim, can you check with the rest of your board and let me know? So the 6th at 2?
We want,
Okay, and let me know.
I have a question. Are we gonna have all the information that we need by the end of the day?
What's the date?
The 6th?
September 6th. About 3, 2.
I might have the GMP by then. They were promising it by the 8th, so they told me the 1st was out, so possibly by the 6th I can have a GMP. But certainly it would be beneficial if I knew what data that you want, as opposed to trying to respond without having the data in front of me.
I'd like to see individual data on what the hospital making, what the clinic, each individual clinic, what they making, what they losing. Amalan, what they making, what they losing. Hospital, what they making, what they losing. That way we'll know, that way I know whether is it feasible to have a clinic open?
Okay.
Feasible to have anything open, you know?
And John started a template which was pretty much close to that. We just need to tweak it a little bit, and that could help.
Well,
yes.
I brought that up a couple of meetings ago, if y'all remember.
Well,
It's,
For that.
I need to understand, because what we're talking about is, it can be apples and oranges, and so I need to be very clear on this. When you say you want it split out, we can split it out. We can split it out in a number of different ways. I mean, we can split it out the way we do and present it now, which is not the true picture of what it would be if it were operated separately. Or we can do it separately and show you what the real blood and guts is. I mean, because it can get real bloody and gut type stuff when we start splitting it out and allocating the costs that we eat as a hospital for the ambulance service. The ambulance service doesn't pay for a lot of stuff. We pay for that out of the hospital because we get better reimbursement out of it. So how much time do you want me to put into this?
If I might, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think everybody understands that, Mike, and we're not asking you to do that. What we're asking is for the information. How you build and how you put this package together for reimbursements. We're not asking you to do that differently. We all understand that if it's billed under the hospital, then the reimbursements are greater. What we want to see is the facts and the figures. Weems West, the clinic, they saw the year to date, they've saw 1,500 people. Total billing for that should be $2 million. We've actually collected 25. We want to see those numbers, and we want to understand just how much all these clinics costing the hospital. Because the hospital is the one that has to come here and get money to make payroll. The hospital has, and everybody says, well, the hospital's going broken, as we said earlier in the meeting, or y'all did, and I've kind of stayed out of discussion, but I've been paying attention. We need to understand where we know that an ambulance is not going to make money. No ambulance in the country makes money. It's about delivering services to the people. When they call, we need to have those services available. And the people don't mind helping to pay for that, which we do. The ambulance is done through ad valorem, but they need that service. And they don't mind that, but we need to understand that just like this third ambulance you've been running all year or several months now, that you got no subsidy from. That money comes directly from the hospital, which deletes the amount of money that the hospital has to operate on. Everybody has to understand that, but when you can see it black and white and look at the facts and the figures and then say, well, where's this money coming from if these clinics are losing money? Where's this money coming from if the ambulance is losing money? It's coming out of the hospital revenues. The hospital yourself has to come back down here and ask for more revenues. We need to see where this is at. Is it a billing issue? Are we collecting the co-pays when these people come in? Or are they paying for their visit? Because I can tell you right now, if the federal government and the state government can't provide free health care, we can't either. Little Franklin County can't either. We can provide that service, but we have to collect on some of this stuff. I was reading an article yesterday about a lady was complaining she went to the doctor, and the doctor wanted payment before she went back to get services. And the lady says, well, I feel like the doctor don't trust me. And it wasn't about the doctor not trusting her. It's about a lot of people, when they get through seeing the doctor, they bypass the receptionist desk and go on out. Where do you get the money to pay the doctor? We cannot provide free health care. We can provide assistance. We can try to help them qualify for Medicaid, Medicare, if they qualify for that. You know, we can do a lot of different things, and I think that the hospital is, and trying to, but we need to be more efficient about the services we provide and the dollars we collect. If they owe $20 copay, they ought to have to pay that. I have to pay it. And if you got somebody that don't have it, and I've always said this, and I'm going to make this real quick, it costs $55 for a general visit to one of the clinics. Well, if you're bad sick and you need to go to the clinic, and you ain't got enough friends and family, if you're in bad shape, that you can't go between 3 people and get $55 to go to the doctor to get some medicine, something is bad wrong in this society. Because this county cannot keep doing and providing free health care. You ought to have enough friends and family that you can come up with $55 to pay the doctor in order to get your prescription. Is there people that can't afford it that we need to try to help? Yeah, but we need to investigate and understand that these people actually don't have the money, because some people have the money and just don't want to pay it.
If we
Commissioner,
didn't have a cent to have taxes out here, it would be shut. 'Cause that's
Correct.
what we've been
No
running out.
doubt. But we have to manage,
We're
we have to manage that cent and a half
Yeah,
taxes also. We
exactly,
cannot
yeah.
just go around and give people free health care. The federal and state government can't do it, and there's no way Franklin County can do it. We're here to assist the people and try to provide the service to them, but And ultimately, somebody's got to pay. And the hospital can't keep doing it, or they gonna go down. So that's why we want this stuff broke out, where we can actually look at the 4 entities, hospital, 2 clinics, and the ambulance service. And we know the ambulance service is not gonna make money, it never does, and nobody else does either. That's about a service to the people that are in need, and we have to go get them whether they got money to pay the ambulance or not, to save their life. I mean, that's a life-saving issue there. So we know that. And we understand that there's other people that might need some help, but we cannot give away free health care. That's got to stop if any of this stuff is gonna match and work together. We have to be more prudent about the billing, about the collection, and, quote, providing that service.
Commissioner, I've been all over this country in hospitals bigger and smaller than this, all in rural areas, but that is a problem that it's not unique to this county. It is a problem nationwide, and to be in this business that long, you have to be very passionate about delivering care to people. But I have to tell you that one of the biggest issues facing healthcare and the rising cost of healthcare is exactly what you described, is people not contributing their fair share for their care. And what happens is we can control that in the clinics. You can't control it in the hospital. I mean, when they show up at the ER because they have a runny nose, and the clinics wouldn't let them in because they wouldn't pay, I mean, we still have to triage them. Now, we can turn them away at that point if it's not an emergency, but of all the boards and all the commissioners that I've spoke to over the years, I've not found one of them that would say, Mike, I think you ought to do that, because it's just not, it's not very pleasant when I start turning people away from the ER that we deem are not emergent, and it's not very pleasant when I put tax liens on, or their liens on their homes because they're not paying their bills. Both of those things I can do. We have not done those, and most hospitals try not to do those.
Mike, we picked up going to a public hearing. Hate to cut you short. I got one question before we do. Are you going to have to borrow money from the trust fund to pay payroll between now and December?
We've looked at it up to October, and no. And if October is any indication, then I would say no. At this point, that's what the projection that we showed you today. So.
Mr. Chairman, one quick thing. As far as preparing for the workshop, as much information we can get about the affiliation with TMH.
I should have more information on that by then. I will be spending 3 days with Mark the end of this month, so he and I will have some detailed conversations.
And Mr. Chairman, one request from me. Mr. Cooper, if you don't mind, could you go to the Weems East and Weems West and tell me within the last 6 months how many patients have pulled their records from there to go to other patients, to other doctors?
I will try. I don't know if they're keeping
You can
track
do
of
it.
that.
You can do it. I've done it. I've requested that before, and it's been given to me, so I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.